Hello again. The Terrell Severe Weather Readiness 2017 campaign continues. Today's topic is large hail. What in the world is hail? Hailstones are raindrops which freeze within the cold air aloft in the upper part of a thunderstorm's updraft. The upper atmosphere is colder. As thunderstorm updrafts tap into the colder air aloft, the raindrops freeze to the point at which they become too heavy for the updraft to sustain them. They fall out of the thunderstorm at that point at a rapid pace. Large hail is notorious for creating thousands of dollars in damages. Hail can cause injuries and poses a very hazardous threat to drivers if large enough. And let me tell you, yes, that hail can definitely cause a lot of damage. So basically what happens is, as it says here, the raindrops get to a point in the updraft where they are tapping into so much cold air aloft that they freeze. And depending on how cold it is up there and how tall that updraft is, sometimes that hail can grow to be pretty large. That is a frequent problem here in the plains. In fact, large hail is probably one of the biggest severe weather hazards we have to deal with here in Kansas, especially when that hail gets to be golf ball size or larger. Baseball size hail is not uncommon in Kansas. It's pretty rare in Indiana, although it has and does happen out there from time to time, especially when you get a cold core low. But the reason it's such a problem in the plains is largely because of the presence of the Rocky Mountains just to our west. Those mountains actually pump a lot of cold air aloft into the atmosphere, and that can overspread the Great Plains region and much of the central U.S. So large and particularly damaging hail can definitely be a problem here in Kansas and much of the Great Plains. And when it gets big enough, that's really when we get concerned about property damage. That's when we really get concerned about drivers out there. Hail can, on occasion, get large enough to where it cracks and even smashes the windshield, and it can truly be one of the worst things to be driving through. I've driven through hail before, thankfully not horribly large, but I know a lot of you have driven through hail as well, and you probably agree with me 100%. It is definitely not fun to drive through. You say a lot of prayers when you're driving through hail. And this is an example, most definitely, of what hail can do. You can see the damage there to the house on the bottom picture. Look at the house here on the upper right, just absolutely, beaten to death with hail. The windows, the hail, look at what it's done here to the side of the house. There it is here on the ground. And then look at the windshield here of this vehicle on the upper left portion of the screen. That would be, hail has to be pretty large to do something like that. But obviously, as you can see, it can happen. So hail is definitely a very real problem when large enough. And this just is kind of a diagram to kind of show you what I'm talking about here. The raindrops being sucked into the updraft here. And then once it gets above that freezing level, depending on how tall that updraft is, that hail begins to form. It kind of circulates up here, and the hail forms. And then when it gets to the point of being too large, it falls right out of the updraft and onto the surface, destroying vehicles, damaging homes, putting a good knot on anyone's head who happens to be down there. So some fast facts. According to NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, hail causes an average of $1 billion in property damage each year. Hail is definitely deadly, believe it or not. I know you don't hear of hail fatalities too often, but man, if you get hit in the head at just the right spot or hard enough, you can die. It's not a joking matter. You can die. Hail is very serious stuff. When severe thunderstorm warnings are issued for hail, it's definitely something that you need to be taking seriously. These are a common fact. Hail is a common factor with these supercell thunderstorms that we talk about, and what we will be talking about here later on in the week. In fact, supercells are really well known for their capability of producing very large and damaging hail, as well as tornadoes, obviously. NOAA also claims that there have been 32 hail fatalities, believe it or not, since 1996, averaging 2 a year. And that actually kind of surprised me a bit, to be honest. But that's what the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is claiming So that is very interesting, very sad, and again, just reinstates the fact that you've definitely got to be taking this step very seriously. So, obviously hail can be such a problem, and I thought maybe do this one a little differently. What are some ideas that maybe you can think of to help prepare yourself for the possibility of large hail this spring or anytime this year? And here's some questions maybe to ask yourself. What can I do now to be proactive? Do I know who my local hail damage contractors are? Anyone that I can contact here to help evaluate my roof for any repairs? Who do I know who can do that around my area? How can I avoid driving through damaging hail? How can I prepare myself for the road on days when hail potential exists? What can I do? Do I have a radar app on my phone? Is my phone able to receive EAS alert capabilities? If I see storm clouds off in the distance, should I be listening to a CD, or should I be on my iPod, whatever, iPhone, or should I be listening to the radio where I know I have a better chance of hearing an emergency alert that will come over the emergency alert system? Maybe a severe thunderstorm warning advising me of a storm that I'm approaching with very large hail. If I'm not too sure, about the storm that I'm approaching and I don't hear anything on the radio, maybe I should pull off on the side of the road, look online on my phone, see if there's any warnings out, if there's severe weather approaching. If days when hail potential exists, what can I do to prepare ahead of time for these situations? Maybe making sure that I have a radar app downloaded on my phone before I go out driving for the day. Maybe make sure I have a couple alternative routes in mind I can go ahead and take depending on where I'm going to in case I come to cross paths with a thunderstorm. What can I do to secure personal property on days when the risk of hail exists? If I hear in the morning news that there's potential for severe weather and one of the threats is large hail, maybe I should move that little play stand or little toy car of my child. Maybe I should take it and move it into the garage. Maybe I should move my real vehicle into the garage if I know that I'm going to be out and about and there'll be another vehicle here that's not going to be driven through the day. Maybe I should bring the lawnmower in or any other things that are still outdoors that we leave. And that'll do it. So those are just some ideas to maybe consider when you're prepping for the possibility of large hail. I know that all the stuff can go in one ear and out the other, but I'm dead serious that hail can most definitely be a very serious threat. I cannot stress that enough, and you've got to be prepared. Okay, well that will do it for this video. Stay tuned, more to come.